organizing. Plans are a way of organizing and delivering your lessons in your course. So it's kind of a framework. So you can organize your lesson by making folders and pages every single day, and then students just go to the resource tab. They can click through and find the resources there. That's kind of like the file cabinet way of organizing your lesson, kind of like how I like to think of it as. Plans are the other option that you have. They can be lessons that guide you through resources step by step, and it's not reinventing the wheel. Sometimes when I show people plans as a way of organizing their courses, they think, oh my gosh, does this mean I have to redo everything I've done in It's Learning? That's a lot of work. I've put a lot of time into my course already. It's not. Plans are just a way of organizing it differently, but you can still use all of the same resources that you already have. It's just plugging them in a little bit differently on your course. So it's a couple of clicks there initially to set it up, but in my experience, I used to be someone who used folders and pages pretty religiously. That was the way I organized my lessons, and then I made a change over to plans midway through the school year. It wasn't like a clean break in the school year. I just wanted to try it for a couple lessons, and my students really liked it. I kind of felt like it helped me stay more organized as a teacher, and that's the way I started to do my lessons from then on out. It lends itself to virtual teaching and to sub-plans really well because it's very self-directed, very obvious to the learner that this is the lesson for the day. There's a start button that they click, and it guides them through everything you've put in that lesson for the day or for that weekly unit. It just depends on how you want to structure it. So that's a little bit of my take on this, but I know some teachers have used plans in different ways. So it's really however you want to make it and whatever works best for your students in your learning environment. The nice thing with plans is that if you are someone who likes to use folders in It's Learning regularly, whenever you make a plan on It's Learning, whatever you title that as, it makes its own folder in the resources tab for that plan. So you can still kind of maintain that folder structure as you make things, even if you make the change over to this.
Oh, your folder is under your plan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So why do people use plans and why are they helpful? And why maybe you should try using them in your classroom. Like I said, they're pretty easy to follow. The screenshot I have up here is an example of one. This is the student view. On the student view, if you make a plan active, you can make it active for an extended amount of time. Like this lesson was active for a week. You can make it active for a day, a month, however have you. But it shows a start button there for the student. So as soon as they go into your course for the day, on that course overview tab, they see this start button and they know, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do for the day. You can connect it to state standards if you have state standards loaded into your course. Like I said, each plan is saved as a folder in the resources tab. It's less clicking for students and navigating to different tabs. If you use plans as the way of organizing your lessons, you can get some pretty dynamic reports out of this too on what elements of the plan students have looked at, what maybe areas of the plan that they're struggling with and how much time they spend on a resource as compared to others. And it really streamlines access to past lessons all in one place. So I'm going to show you all of those in a second here, because I know I'm talking a lot about it and it's helpful to see it. But it's also helpful for if you have any special education teachers that are in your course helping students and ELL staff. They have kind of mentioned in some of our e-learning reflections and committee work I've done with them that whenever a teacher used plans, it was a little bit easier for them to follow along with what students were supposed to be doing during e-learning, and they felt like they could more efficiently dive into the lesson and give support to students because they had an idea what was going on and they didn't have to spend as much time trying to figure that out on their own first. But again, that was just their perspective and helpful feedback to have in case you're wondering if you want to try this or not. So making a plan and what it looks like in the student view. This is kind of an animated picture here, and I wanted to show you what this looks like for a student when they're viewing a plan. I'll also show you that here on It's Learning, but for the student, this is what it looks like. There's arrows across the top screen, and these are resources that I, as the teacher, put into the plan for the day. Student can click through those resources, or if they use that little 3-line button there beside the arrow, that shows them all of the steps in the plan that day and what they need to do. So they click the start button, guides them through the resources, takes up their whole screen so they're not seeing all these other ads and distractions, and they can focus on this. All right, so I'm going to show you what this looks like from the teacher view and how you can build and use a plan now. All right. So I go to my It's Learning course. The Plans tab is where you can do your building and your creating and your plan. For your new courses for the 2019, not 2019, that was this past year, for the 2020-21 school year, you will have some set things added to your course for you. One of those being some settings for plans, and that's just to make it more consistent across the district for students and for staff and for parents when they go in and they try to figure out what they need to do in a lesson that day. So for every plan, if you decide to make one, there's a column here. It's just the name you want to give it. So it can be a lesson name, it can be the day of the week, it can be a date, it can be a whole week. You have to add dates to it, and you can leave this open for a long amount of time, but adding dates makes it so that there's a start button for the students to click. You don't add the dates and there's no start button that appears for them. There's a goal and instructions column where you can write out your lesson goal for the day and any other instructions for students. So it's kind of front loaded for them on what they need to do. It doesn't have to be as lengthy as this one. I used to put quite a bit of information early on in my lessons so my students knew how to get in touch with me if they needed help, what they were going to be doing that day, and just giving them as much as I could up front. There's going to be a column for standards where you can add those. And then there's a tab, not a tab, but a column here called resources and activities. And this is where you plug in the materials you've already built on It's Learning, materials from past courses, and arrange them here in whatever order you want. So your students kind of see those as the steps in the lesson. So when they go to this active plan, they'll see the date, they'll see the goal, your standards, and then they actually go through the resources and activities you've made for them. And then this last column here that will be in a plan if you make it is teacher notes. So this can be just some helpful information from your teacher. It can be your email and how to contact you, if we use Remind or some of those text message notification systems, how the students can reach out to you there. If you have a checklist you want them to use to help them stay on track while they work, you can put it there. Or if you want to remind them about any upcoming homework or deadlines, that's the place to do that. This doesn't necessarily have to be a space that you fill out for every single plan. If you don't fill out one of these columns, it doesn't show up to the students. It's not like a blank screen. They just don't see that step in their plan, but it's there as a reminder for you to put something there if you want to. All right.
Okay.
So a couple of helpful vocab terms linked with the planner itself. So when you make a plan, I'm actually going to go back to my slide deck here for a second. I'm going to show you an example here. Here's an example of a math one. Pulled this from a teacher's screen. This was a math plan. So they actually kind of arrange their order a little bit different. They put standards here and then their goal. And you can do that on your end. You can change the order of things if you want to. They have a bonus column they added in here is like a steps in the lesson. I usually put that in my goal section, but that's just me. And then all of the links and resources students will use, and then any notes from their teacher. I think this was from a new tech teacher, if I'm not mistaken. And this was another social studies example. So the name of the lesson, dates that it's active, description, which is the goal, content, standards, and then resources and activities. All right, and there is some self-help resources here if you want to go through this building process on your own, at your own pace. There's a video and a written guide. But the thing I want to show you here in terms of vocab, when you go to make a plan, adding a topic is the button you'll click to get started. Mm-hmm. Of topic as your unit name, or maybe it's the week during the school year, or it's a couple of weeks. It's kind of like a bigger idea.
That's depend on your plan, right? If your
Yes.
plan covered 2 weeks, so you need a topic of the 2 weeks, the content, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. When I did this, I kind of thought as a topic as my unit. Like I did a unit on ancient China, then I did a unit on ancient Japan right after that.
Okay.
My ancient China unit had all of my different lessons for that unit. And you can even break it down further than that if you need to.
Okay.
It's just your personal preference. It's almost like chapters in a textbook. If you like to organize your lesson plans like that.
Or section or
Yes.
chapter, depending. Okay.
Yep. That's kind of a helpful thing to know some of this vocab before. 'Cause the first time I used this, I was like, what is topic? What does that mean? That is the bigger option here.
Right.
And the plan is more of the smaller piece. So I know this is kind of confusing. The whole tab is called plans. So your topic is your bigger unit, and then a plan makes up a topic. So it's a piece of that topic. It's your daily lesson, your week lesson. If you're designing your week that way, it's smaller than a topic. So the example I have here, let me get to it. Example here, I'm going to go back to my course, is that this topic is week 1, unit 1, East Asia. And this first lesson here would be on a Monday, and the plan is called the Mongol Empire. And then I would add another one here, and that could be the next empire after that. Just depends on how you want to structure it.
Okay.
So if I'm starting from scratch here, I'm going to hide this so you can see what this looks like if you're starting from the basics. Actually going to change something real quick. I messed with some settings here. This is not something you have to do. I'm just changing something so it makes more sense. All right, so what I would click is add topic. And I'll give this a title. So maybe this is my unit 2.
Mm-hmm.
You can color code it however you want here. You'll click save. All right, and it puts the most recent one here at the bottom. I know that itslearning was looking to change that to where the most recent one you make is at the top. So these are,
That would be helpful.
yeah, I know that was on their roadmap, and I want to say that change is going into effect with their update, their back to school update. So I will follow up on that, but I'm like 99% sure that's something that they said. So you don't have to keep scrolling. Okay, so I add my topic, and then add plan is where I can start adding those individual lessons. So add plan. And that it automatically gives me all of those columns. Those are already set there for me. I don't have to do any of that, which is kind of nice. So I can give it my title if I just click. So this first one is Monday. I can put the date there, 20. If you want to use a section of the book or do that instead, maybe like 1 point or 2.1 or 2.2, that's how you structure kind of your lessons, then you can put that there instead. For date, pick your start date, and then the stop date, I actually leave that open for a longer amount of time because typically you have students who might be absent or something along those lines. So you can keep it open for however long you want, and you can even go back and update that over time. And I actually usually go to date instead of date and time, just so I don't have to worry about if a student is working on this early in the morning or late at night, it doesn't get in their way. So
Yeah.
as we know from e-learning, our students were working all hours of the night.
Yeah.
I know I got some emails from kids needing help at like 2:30 in the morning. I was like, oh,
Yes.
I thought I was staying up late.
In the morning, afternoon, no student ask a question. After 10 p.m., they started. Oh.
You're like, well, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. I'm sleeping. All right, so you can put your date there, and again, you can always change that, extend it if you need to, or move it up. Next piece here is goal and instructions, and this is something that wasn't super obvious to me the first few times I tried to use plans. If you just click here, it just looks like a plain old text box. But my example up here, I have a picture, I have links and things. The hidden little secret here is if you click this pencil button, now you get all of the
Okay.
yeah, with the
include
rich
your
text
picture.
editor.
Good.
Yep, you can put pictures, audio, video, link if you need to, whatever have you.
Okay. That's
So
good.
this is usually where I'd write my goal. And I always put a Y with my goal. And then you can put lesson instructions under there. And if it's a screencast video or a welcome video from you, you can write it out. It's just, again, up to your personal preference. You have all of these tools and buttons here to make it whatever you want. Click save. If I click save, that's all written out there now. And for standards, I have loaded these standards into my course already. And I can walk you through how to do that towards the end of this call. For this sake right now, I'm just gonna show you the quick way of doing this. So I already loaded in social studies standards for me. This is a one-time thing you have to do at the beginning of the year if you want to use these features. So it brings up Indiana state standards and you can add multiple standards to your class like I did here and then go through and pick whichever ones you need to. I'm just gonna pick a random one. Actually has nothing to do with Japan right now, just so I can click one. You can add lots of standards there. And then this next one is the resources and activities. So this is where you have the option to add in things you've already made or create things from scratch if you haven't yet. So if I want to add a resource from maybe a past lesson or a past school year, and I know I already have something related to this lesson, I click the add button. I have some options here. So if I click assignment, I can make something new, or if I've already built an assignment in my course already, it brings up everything I have in my resources tab right there. There's not a lot in this course because I just made this the other day, but if I had more content there, it would show up. I can pull from pages I've already used and made, or I can make a new one from scratch right there. I can pull from a past course or a current course. So because I added standards to this lesson, it's thinking, oh, you only want to see items that you've also tagged with that standards. So I always click show all because I was not always the best about tagging every single thing I made on It's Learning with the standard. So this is showing all of the items I've made in my course already, and I can add them to this assignment. So I'll just add, oh, that's this folder I'm already in. Don't want to pick that one. Just put that bell ringer. So I can add something in my course already. If I want to add more, I can keep going through that. I can add from my drive. If I pick library, this is where I can pull items from past courses. So anything and everything you make on It's Learning is added into your collection in the library. And it's a lot. So there are like hundreds of things in here from years of It's Learning lessons and putting content in here. So you can search by type of file, things you favorited, whatever have you. The only thing though is this can be a little cumbersome, especially now that you've probably put lots of stuff on It's Learning, is you can't type in a keyword and search for it there.
That's only from you.
Yeah, this is only stuff that you've made.
Okay.
Yeah. So typically what I did when I did lesson plans here, I would just start from scratch and do create new.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm making it as I'm going. If I had stuff in my course already, that was fine. If I knew I could quickly find it from there, that's fine as well. The other thing that you can do that's might be a little bit more of a time save is if I go to my courses menu, and let's say going through the library and adding a resource in the library is taking too long because I know it's a specific page I want to find on It's Learning, but I have 300 pages and I don't want to sit here and scroll through all of these. That's going to take forever. But I know it's in a past It's Learning course. I can go to my courses, drop down menu, archived, or keep it there if it's an active course. And then I can look for it. And yours probably will not look as messy as this because you all are probably about better at keeping your classes more organized. This is what happens when I add myself to courses and help people and then forget to delete everything later.
So this would be like, you made something last year.
Yes.
You want to go
Yes.
get it. Okay, got it.
So for this example, I used to teach about this ancient Japan, and I know I have stuff I've made here. This is from a course 3 years ago. So I'm going to go and find my stuff in this folder. All right, here we are. Here's my page I was looking for specifically. So if I wanted to copy this into this other course and into that plan, I'll click Action, Copy to. It always takes it a second, but it's going to bring up a drop-down menu. And this is still within this archived course. I want to select my new course. So I'm going to go up here, and then I always start typing the name of the course because typically I can find it. Oh, it's sample. There it is. This is the course I wanted added into, and it brings up all of my folders. So like I said, when you make a topic in the planner, it makes a folder every single time for that.
Mm-hmm.
I can select this folder if I want to add it there. If I'm not wanting to do that, I just want to dump it into this course really quickly, I can just copy it. Takes it a second, but it will give me a message across my screen. Yes, it copied it. So now if I go back to this course where I want to add more content to my plan because it's looking pretty bare right now, I click Add Course, Show All. Hopefully I don't have to refresh my page. Oh, there it is. I can add this page now that I'd already made and copied over.
Okay.
So that's the question I get from teachers a lot is if I've already made tons of folders and things like that on It's Learning and I want to switch over to the planner, do I have to start from scratch? No. What you could do is I could technically, in this old course, I could select all of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
copy it over into my new course,
Okay.
keep it all hidden so that I'm the only one who can see it, and then I can use stuff as I want to and plug stuff in as I want to on this individual plan.
Okay.
I have all of it there if I need it, but the only things my students are going to be seeing is this active stuff that I put in this plan.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this last little bit here is this teacher notes section, and kind of like the goal and instruction section, there's that pencil there where I can add content and things. So if I have a checklist for my students to use, add that. So I'm just going to add a link. Okay. Save. All right. So I've added stuff to my plan, looking like the way I want it to. This is the key step that you need to do next. So after you've made your plan and you're ready for it to be visible to students, you click this checkbox here to select it, and then this action button. You'll need to activate it. So if you activate it, that means that students can start going through this plan and completing the tasks, and looking at the resources and doing their assignments. So if I click activate, it'll give me a confirmation message that it's active. And what that means is that if I toggle into student view now, maybe, there we go. This is what it looks like for students. On the course overview tab, there's going to be 2 active plans now. There's going to be that first plan I had active, this Mongol Empire one. And if I needed to start this plan, I would just click the start button to start working on it. This is what it looks like for the students. This is that goal and instructions. column when we were building this. Standards, the teacher linked to this. And then the lesson resources, which in this case, the teacher used a learning path. And then the last bit was a checklist from the teacher. And then the teacher notes. So it's very self-guided. And then if students click this button here beside the X, they can always close at any point in time and then pick up where they left off. But if I click this show all resources, move my video camera here so you guys can see, it shows me all of the steps in the plan. So I get a feel for how much I still have left to do. If I'm on step 2 and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is taking me a while, how much more do I have to go? It kind of helped me as a student know, okay, this is going to be a longer lesson, or I'm almost towards the end. And they can skip ahead to one of these steps if they need to. So if I am on this standards one and I'm confused and need to reach out to my teacher, I can skip ahead to teacher notes. And this is where maybe my teacher left a checklist and I can get the help and guidance I need from there. So it guides them through step by step, but they can jump ahead or go back if they need to. And then if they need, they can close it. From year to year, plans can be copied over from one course to another. If you are working with other grade level teachers, maybe in your building or in different buildings, and you figure teamwork is better than just one person doing this all by themselves, they can make plans and then you can copy them into your course if you want. It's the same as you copy resources over from the resources tab. If I wanted to copy a plan I've already made, that's actually what I did to put the ones in this course, especially this first one. I wanted this to be copied over. I select it, action menu, and then copy, and I can select the course I want to copy it into. And with this one, I'm actually going to change the start date on this so we can actually see it. Today's the 16th. Activate it. If you want to deactivate a plan, if you accidentally started showing it to students too soon, or you're ready for work on that to stop, you can deactivate it as well. That means that you can still see it, students can't though.
Okay, can I have a question, Bernie?
Yeah, of course.
So if go back to the teacher's view for the resource and activity, that one.
Mm-hmm.
So for the resource, is still available if I add some YouTube video?
Yep, yep. So if I wanted to add a YouTube video here, a couple of options. You can add that as an assignment, or if I click page and then click create new, it opens up a window here where I'm just creating a page, and I can put my link there. Actually, I don't know if you guys can see this right now.
No, I can see.
Hold
it's
on.
frozen.
It opened that up in a new window, which means I have to share. All right, now,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what it did is it opened up a new page in a new window, and I just click add content block and go through those usual steps that I would to put a link in.
Okay.
So I'm gonna find a YouTube video and just drop it in there so you can see. 1 second. You can't see my screen. Hope the video that was just playing didn't blast your eardrums like it just did mine. So if I have my link
Paste your link.
there, or if I wanted to embed it, I could embed it too.
Okay.
Yep, same process as before.
Okay. All right.
Whenever I'm finished, I would just click OK. and I can close out of this window.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to share my screen again so you can see. And now if I look, there's that page I just
New page. Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Which I probably should have given that a title so it doesn't just say new
Yeah,
page.
it's good. It's,
There's where it is.
yeah, good enough. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And if your students get confused or if they want to be able to see any past plans that you've done
Mhm.
and access any past lessons, what's kind of helpful here is that I'm going to activate this again so we can see it. When you go into student view, or really when you're in any view, they always have this plans tab across the top of their screen. If they click plans, by default, it's set to where they can see all of them. And if that gets too overwhelming because you're several weeks into the school year and you don't want them to see all of these old plans, they can always go down and see last week, upcoming, just this week. They have the ability to kind of sort through that. Or they can even do it by topic. So if you have a student who's absent for a while and missed all of Unit 1, then they can click this drop-down menu here and go and see all of the lesson plans for Unit 1 there that they had missed.
Okay.
And they can always get to things too by the resources tab still. Because again, it makes a folder for each one of those elements. And I have some other stuff in this course, but there it is. One of the positives of using plans is that it puts the start button there for the students. Right, trying to think if there's other pieces. I showed you copying and activating it. That's pretty much the gist of things when you're starting from scratch and making them, and copying them, adding pieces to them, and making them activated. Does anyone want me to walk through something again, or do you have a question? Because I can definitely go over that. I know it seems like a lot, and it's a little bit of different vocab to learn here up front.
Okay, can you click that one, the right side, but right top? There's a arrow. You see side by the person. There's an arrow, right side. Go the right. You say the 360 report, more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, still go right, still go right, still go right. Keep going, go right, right, right. Yes. That one just you can click student view or
Yes.
teacher view, right? Okay.
Oh, and this is something I forgot to mention. When you're in teacher view, you see the start button, even if you've activated it.
Can say again? Start.
You won't see the
okay.
start button unless you're in student view, which initially I was like, I know I activated that. Why don't I see it? And that's because you had to view it as a student to be able to see that. So if I switch over to teacher view, there's no more start button.
There's no more start button.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one is if you want student views for all the class, not only individual, you can.
Yep. It's helpful to do that sometimes. I used to use that button all the time because I wanted to make sure that my stuff was working the way it should be.
Okay. All right.
And I know you were curious to get more info on this. I hope I didn't have you drinking from a fire hydrant or a water hose.
No. It's fine. It's good to see the whole picture and kind of how it goes together. And
yeah, that's good. When you go over there step by step, we understand and ask a question. That's lots of help. Yeah.
well, and I know you said it's really more applicable for secondary teachers, and I'm sitting here as a fourth grade teacher, I love the organization of it. I love all the things you can put in there. And I love the way it is more step by step than the pages with the content blocks and whatnot that we use more in elementary. But I'm not sure, like in a secondary class, of course, you would have a plan for your, ninth grade social studies, world history class or whatever. It's not ninth grade, but whatever. You would have a plan for each class. So I'm not, thinking about that with fourth graders and making it easy to use. Am I going to have a plan for language arts, a plan for math, a plan for what? Or are they better off looking at I'm not sure what's best for them. They're definitely used to content blocks. That also sends them all over the place. So am I better?
And you can technically still use content blocks. You can put those pages in
the plan.
Your plan. If you really wanted to start off with using this new tool, but use something a little bit more familiar, you could. I can share with you. I know how some elementary teachers have used plans before.
I'd love to see an example.
Yeah, I meant to put a screenshot in there. I know a few teachers. There was quite a big following at Richards Elementary School with plans for a while. Like they were like all about it, and a lot still are. And now some of them have moved to different buildings, so I don't know if it'll disseminate everywhere. But I know when Wendy Foster was in the classroom, she used plans a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think that they used plans for every single part of their day. I know that they in the ELA block quite a bit, and when they did this, they did. I know that some teachers who've used this in other buildings have made a plan for the whole day instead of breaking it up by subject area. And then some of the different pieces in the plan kind of are those different subject area pieces.
Well, and then there could be a learning path within the plan.
Yes. Yes.
Not everything. The learning path gives them some boundaries too, but.
Yes. And what I thought was good and what I've seen some elementary people do is that they didn't make everything totally, and again, this is because they were in an actual physical classroom, but they didn't make every single step digital. Like some of the steps in the learning in this plan were go to your small group and work with your teacher for a little while. There was some of those station things built in as steps in this.
Right.
Like, oh, that's so helpful. That's helpful for the teacher to plan some of those things in because they're probably already doing that anyway. And then for the students to see that on the screen.
And they just know what their next step is.
Yep. And that could even be the same for secondary classes too. I did stations quite a bit when I taught 7th grade, especially after I'd kind of do a little bit of an intro on a new topic, then I'd have them go to different stations, and some of those were very much not on a computer screen. And I would,
but they knew where they needed to visit.
Yep, I would put all of those different stations listed on my plan so they would know we were doing during this amount of time, and they'd see that that was a rotation they were going to go to.
I love how well it's organized.
It's nice and clean. It's pretty intuitive.
And they can't click all over the place. With the content blocks, they start clicking everywhere. And we can teach a better process for the content blocks. I don't know.
So for last semester, all the e-learning, I use all of those functions. Only plans I did not use it, but I just use the folder. One folder for 1 week because sometimes the one day one section, if one section you do like a 2.1 you do plan, so every day you have to make a plan. So we just use 1 week, one folder, and the only plan I did not use. But today we learned it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. The only plan I did not use it. Yeah, but today we learned the plan is good.